From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. A production of iHeartRadio.
Hello, welcome back to the show. My name is Matt. Our colleague Noel is not here today, but will be rejoining us shortly.
They call me Ben. We're joined, as always, with our super producer, Paul Mission Control Deckett. Most importantly, you are here, and that makes this the stuff they don't want you to know. Matt, is this one of the episodes where we do a disclaimer? Should we do a...
Yeah, let's do a disclaimer. You want me to run it? Here we go. Disclaimer. No part of the following episode contains medical advice. If you are seeking treatment for a physical or psychological malady, contact a qualified professional.
Perfect. Okay, so we've got that out of the way. Everybody buy our new radium pills. No, I know. We just got a deal on old radium pills, and we're reselling them on TikTok and Instagram. We are kidding. That is not true, and you should not buy things just because you see someone excited about them on social media. It's an old practice.
And don't buy things with radioactive materials. Not a good look.
It's not the best look. It's a look that glows in the dark sometimes. I mean, we're talking about snake oil today, right? We're talking about things where a charismatic authority figure tells you, hey, trust me, the mainstream is lying to you. I'll let you in on the conspiracy.
Yeah, man. You're in on the conspiracy, and this stuff I got right here, it's gonna make you stronger, thinner. It's gonna cure you of that malady, as we said earlier.
Oh, you're drinking regular water? You don't have energized water?
Oh, geez. Oh, that sounds so familiar.
Do I need to explain, says the huckster, what energized water is? Wow, you need a lot of help. And for a reasonable fee, I can be the person who helps you. I'll make you thinner, smarter, younger, faster. In tonight's episode, we are exploring the concept of fake cures. Over here in the US, this stuff is often called snake oil. Here are the facts.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's start with snake oil. What the heck is that? It's a pretty great term. You should start using it if you don't use it in your everyday life. It just means, again, it's a fake cure. It's kind of a stand-in for the same thing. A substance that you either ingest, you apply to your skin, you take it in some way, and it's supposed to have curative effects for some problem. And really, it's nothing. It's the placebo effect made real.
Ooh, I love that you mentioned that part, because we do know the placebo effect has an effect. As dumb as that sounds, I gotta ask you, man. When I was learning about snake oil as actual oil produced from snakes, I was surprised. I didn't know that was a thing. Did you know that there is genuine snake oil?
Yeah, Ben, tell me what I'm wrong here, what I'm getting wrong. My understanding is that you could actually use snake oil from certain species, or at least it was used traditionally, to apply to like the outside of your skin or something if you don't have an open wound, because the effects of that neurotoxin would actually like numb your skin maybe, or maybe that's wrong.
Oh, I don't know. I'm asking you, Matt. Like, okay. This is the thing. You know, the last time I try never to kill things like snakes or spiders, but the last time I killed a snake, I wasn't thinking, ooh, time to make some snake oil. Like that did not occur to me. And, you and I have seen our fair share of serpents in the field. We don't really think of them as a resource. And it's weird, like what you're pointing out absolutely makes sense. Back in the day in Chinese traditional medicine, I believe they used oil from water snakes to do just what you're describing, to rub some sort of ointment or salve on joints, right? And the idea being this would reduce pain from things like arthritis and so on. But maybe I think you're onto something now that you mention it. I think it may have functioned as a local anesthetic, perhaps.
Look, that's maybe, I don't know where I'm pulling that from, Ben. That's just in the ether. I'm pulling it in, and it just feels like something that would function perhaps like lidocaine maybe does nowadays. Oh, this makes, except again, I think lidocaine you can use on the inside of your mouth and stuff. So maybe don't do that with snake venom. But snake venom is a fascinating thing. Maybe we can talk about that really quickly. In some of the research here, Ben, that you found and that we kept looking at here, just snake venom. You're talking about what do you do with snakes if you get a hold of some? If they're venomous, you might be able to make some money. Because extracting the venom from a venomous snake can help by creating antivenom. Except, gosh, man, I didn't know how much money was in antivenom.
It's a huge deal, right? It's crazy. You can also look on, I guess, YouTube, if we're being honest. Look up milking cobras or something like that. And there's this entire industry. Yeah, Matt, describe it. You got it.
It's almost hypnotic the way you can watch the two fangs kind of move separately as it goes into the contraption that's actually pulling the venom out of it's literally milking the venom out of the fangs of these things. It's brilliant. But there's another thing I just learned. It's a type of antivenom that's being produced somehow through horses. Gosh, I can't think of it completely. Oh no, it's right here. It's called Anavip.
Right. Which is is it the same process as the sheep injection to harvest antibodies?
Yes, I think it's very similar, but it's derived, quote, from the blood of horses immunized with the venom from like specific snakes.
Pretty nuts, right? So there is something to snake oil, at least in terms of venom from venomous reptiles. And again, yes, there is a difference between poisonous and venomous. Mm-hmm. So look, as we always say, people of the past, of days of yore, were just as intelligent or unintelligent as people in the modern day. They worked with the information they had. You know, I read a fascinating account, was able to corroborate this too across a couple of different academic papers. When the Chinese American population blossomed in the United States, people from China brought over traditional medicinal practices with them. And that's where we get the idea of snake oil being rubbed on human extremities, on the elbows or the weenus, if you want to use the technical term. Yeah. And then the West learned of anti-venom technology. All of a sudden, snake oil was like crypto. It sounded really good. You had never experienced it, likely, in the 1800s, but you had heard about it. And if someone comes into town and they're selling authentic snake oil, right, and they're branding it with something from, First Nations or indigenous peoples, or they're branding it with some sort of like yellow peril, racist Asian stuff, then you might look at the little wagon and say, this guy's legit. He's going to help me with my brain fever or my dropsies or my left-handedness, whatever.
Definitely. It's the brand new snake oil, 100% olives.
We got to talk about the history, right? Why did snake oil become, like you said, Matt, the catch-all phrase for fake medicine?
Oh, Ben, you found this. It comes from the late 1800s when a retired cowboy decided he was going to mosey on down to another pasture. His name's Clark Stanley, and he had a street name. What was it?
The Rattlesnake King. He beat the Tiger King, but unfortunately he was alive well before the dawn of Netflix specials. he claimed he had spent, I think it was 2 years. He's most often quoted as saying he spent 2 years with Hopi spiritual leaders, and they taught him the secret of snake oil. So he bottled this up and he sold it. It was called snake oil liniment, and he made a lot of money off of this stuff until like 1907 to 1916. Things were getting rough for him because, you can only sell a fake cure for so long before the people that survive your fake cure start asking why it doesn't work.
Oh, well, yeah. Or they're like, man, this worked perfectly. I survived. Right? There's going to be enough of that. The people who don't survive don't write reviews. Maybe their family does, though, right? That's why it could be popular and function for a long time, especially if you're dealing in local markets. And if you're a traveling salesman, you're only in town to make enough people angry for long enough to then move on and do it again. But yeah, in 1916, the U.S. government finally came down and they said, all right, Mr. Cowboy Rattlesnake King guy, what's inside this here bottle? And what did they find? No medicinal properties. And they also found...
Oh, no snake oil.
Yeah.
No ingredients from any sort of snake at all. No snake poop, no eggshells from snakes, no snake legs, which aren't really a thing but can occur.
That would be
no
something.
Venom.
That would be something. Snake legs.
Old snake legs. That feels like a good street name. That's weird. That's a weird one. So they levied a penalty against this guy, against our former cowboy, Stanley, aka the Rattlesnake King. And Uncle Sam said, you gotta admit that you were wrong. You gotta pony up $20. That was about $500 in 2023 money. But again, the snake oil in the US, the reason people call bullshit cures snake oil, the guy who invented it didn't even bother to put snake ingredients in his concoction. And that's funny.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. And that's why we have snake oil. You're welcome.
Right. I mean, also, there's no evidence that Stanley personally believed in the thing he was selling. It does appear to be a grift. It does not appear that he genuinely believed in some sort of medical efficacy for this stuff he was selling. And as a result, now snake oil is associated with grifting in some darkly hilarious ways. But Matt, why is snake oil dangerous?
Snake oil is extremely dangerous because not only can taking something that you believe is curing you of an ailment, it doesn't actually help your ailment whatsoever. So you may just die from that original ailment or become even sicker and sicker, believing that you're actually curing yourself in some way or aiding in what you're suffering from. But the second biggest problem with snake oil treatments is that sometimes, and we're going to talk about it in today's episode, sometimes that substance, whatever it is that is supposed to be a cure-all or a fix for the one thing, it can cause other problems, sometimes even worse than the ones that were from your originating disease or, whatever it is that's troubling you in the beginning. And overdoses, oh my God, overdoses on substances are such a thing we're going to get into.
Yeah. And in the U.S. and in other countries that don't have a developed healthcare infrastructure, right? Like in the U.S. and other places that do not function the way a developed country does with healthcare, people become frightened by the high price of going to the doctor, right? Of seeking treatment of some sort. They're thrown out in the cold. You know what I mean? And they're searching for alternative solutions. They're asking themselves, what would I not do to save my life? Or more often, what would I not do to save the life of someone I love? This is this is why the FDA exists, the Food and Drug Administration. I mean, regardless of political leanings, the U.S. public increasingly agreed on one thing back in the day. They said, all right, if we go and buy something, it should be the thing we thought we were buying.
Yeah.
You know, no mystery boxes or cans at the grocery store. No more ground beef with human fingers. Is that a hot take?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great idea. Theoretically, the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, is one of the best ideas humans have had. Really, honestly. Let's know what we're doing. Let's know what we're buying, ingesting, and using as medical treatments. Let's just figure it out. And I think maybe even the better underlying concept of the FDA is to create an infrastructure, an organization, a group of specialists and experts that you can trust. You can put your trust in them because when they say something is in this product, it is definitely in that product or not.
I like that or not at the end. It is definitely in this product or not.
Well, because there's problems. There's real problems.
Yeah, agreed. It's so weird too, the way that literature can move action, at least back then. You know, one of the primary motivating factors for the creation of the FDA was a book, a quite disturbing book about stockyards in Chicago. It was called The Jungle, written by a guy named Upton Sinclair. And it shed a lot of light on things people would rather not think about. You know what I mean? And anyway, okay.
Well, in
so
this
yes.
case, it's meat production, right?
Yes, in this case, it's meat production. And this led to the creation of the FDA, attempting to keep consumer goods safe until, you know, lobbying forces buy them out. And we could say that's the end of grifts. But fellow conspiracy realist, what would you say if Matt and I told you that these grifts, panaceas, nostrums, they're called sometimes, snake oils, they continue and escalate in the modern day?
They continue, you say? No. Wait, hold on. Let's take a quick word from our sponsor and hear about some fully FDA-approved products.
Here's where it gets crazy. All right, snake oil is an insult, right? If someone says, what kind of snake oil are you selling here? They don't mean it as a compliment, right?
Usually not. It's usually, well, unless it's essential snake oil. Now, if it's essential snake oil,
right,
you can probably trust and use it and it'll work.
Or
oh, that's a dig. I'm sorry.
If you're at an anti-venom laboratory and you say, what kind of snake oil are you selling here? You know, you might not mean it as an insult, and they're probably the most defensive people about that. They're probably the people most likely to say, this is not snake oil, sir. This is anti-venom.
Yeah, this is asp extract.
This is Cobra Contra, sir.
All right.
Sure. Hire us to name your weird drugs. This stuff is another iteration of this is the idea of patent medicine, which continues today. Patent medicine, real thing, over-the-counter remedies for usually minor medical situations. What we mean by over-the-counter is you don't need a prescription. It's not like some sort of powerful psychiatric drug or physically addictive drug that requires a physician to check in with you. It's like you got a cold, right? You got a headache, you know, you got some aches and pains in your joints and you just don't have a snake handy for the oil.
Well, it's let's give an example, Ben. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think a good example of a patent medicine is quinine. Maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a substance that was used for medicinal purposes, and it was like, if you created something with quinine back in the day, tonic, hence the tonic water these days that we consume, you could patent that, right? And now you can sell it.
Yeah, and the idea of patent medicine, or patent in general, goes back to European monarchies, where a monarch or a court administration would issue something called a letters patent, which would co-sign a product or service. So it could be medicine, but it could also be, we like the way this guy makes shoes, or we like the way this lady makes lace. They're our official co-signed person. which means that if you are a grifter, if you are selling a fake medicine, a medicine that does not do what it purports to do, you no longer have to convince the public. You just have to convince the queen or the king or the duke or whomever, right? Mm-hmm. I know. Sorry, almost. Yeah, you fell into a
I like the rhythm.
There.
That's all.
That's very kind. So look, this is also the stuff that pioneered advertising, right? The folks who were, whether they were on a wagon or whether they were out in the town square waving a scroll with a little wax mark on it.
Yeah.
What are those called? You know what I'm talking about?
A sign with a seal? What do you mean?
A seal. Yeah. Like a seal of some sort of authoritative approval. Yes. And they're waving it and they're going, hey, the king likes this. The local authority figure tells me this is 100% awesome. It's stopping the plague.
Oh, yeah. Really, like, if you put yourself in that position, let's say you're on the side of a street, it's the 1800s, you're moving towards the 1900s, and, you see I guess it would be like a carriage, but it's not really a carriage. It's a horse with a buggy of some sort in the back, right? And it's just strolling through. It stops in place. The person gets out, opens up a few flaps on the thing, and on those flaps, there are signs that say things like this, that have the seal, that have that kind of thing. It's like, it's not the first example of signage, right? And that kind of PR, perhaps, but it's probably one of the biggest innovations that occur, because you've got so many people selling so many different things. They're coming up with different kinds of signs, different kinds of tactics to convince you that their medicine is better than the other guys. It's pretty, I don't know. It's messed up when you think about what was actually happening. But I think maybe I just love that humans have such a competitive nature for that kind of thing, that it ends up developing into this huge whole business of marketing and PR and all that stuff. You can just see the threads of it from this one thing. Oh, sure. Yeah. And I'm sure they got pretty, I'm sure they became pretty insidious with stuff, like there would be someone like Dr. Peppenjums, guaranteed patent pending foot care tonic, which has 100% no human urine in the bottle. Unlike Dr. Jubbinpeps over in the next town. Yes. Right? Now, why no one's peeing in the bottles. They're making these strange accasions, Now, peeing on the bottles, that's a whole different thing, but not in the bottles. That's how you cure that's how you cure the glass. Anyway, so look, we're talking about these days of yore in which people were, again, working with the information they had, and they were just as smart as anyone listening tonight. They were not able to hop on a phone, to hop on a computer. They were not able to contact an expert at the very moment they wanted answers. And so, Matt, we would think, wouldn't we, that armed with all the information of the world at our fingertips, people would be a bit
more skeptical, a bit less credulous, right?
Yeah, you might think that. I don't know. Sure.
Oh, God. Yeah. Unfortunately, it appears that in a world of endless information and endless access to information, the conspiratorial genre of snake oil grifting is thriving. It is a golden age of selling people bullshit. And I am not joking. We are not joking here. There might be someone selling bull poop.
Oh, dear.
For like vague unease or for, are you worried about your children being born with more than 5 fingers on each hand? Take Dr. Awkward's patented polydactyl prevention potion.
Oh, man, I love the peas. Thank you, Ben. Well, you're on the money here, Ben, because we talk about our social media bubbles all the time. And your social media bubble is not just the people you follow and the types of videos that you stay on for a longer amount of time on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. Your social media bubble is also the ads that get served to you. And sometimes those ads aren't just, a company that paid money in order for this ad to show up on your social media page. Often it's somebody promoting something, right? Which it means we're all at risk at any time from having somebody we like or somebody we think we like promoting something to us that may not be fully above board, and maybe that person who's promoting it isn't even aware.
Yeah, and your algorithm knows it.
Yes.
Right? Your algorithm is, everybody should know this immediately. Your algorithm is weaponized against you. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're on there, it is weaponized with the idea of enticing you to consume further, right?
Mm-hmm.
To participate in the economy. And the algorithm knows no morality any more than any other kind of technology. That's why if you are in heartbreaking situations, like you have a loved one with a terminal or chronic condition, right? Or you yourself have a chronic condition, you will be inundated with modern day snake oil. Matt, you and I talked about this off air. We do have to flip the tone a bit. We have to go toward a very difficult thing. Fake cancer cures are so common.
They're so common because there's a desperation that comes with yourself or a family member being diagnosed with cancer. No matter what cancer it is, no matter where it is in the body, there's a desperation that is born, right? And it grows because often, using Western medicine's cures for cancer or treatments, let's say, of cancer, often take a long time, are brutal on the body, and don't work all the time. Sometimes they do, but not all the time. And when something isn't working like that, especially for a long enough time, or maybe you don't even have access to that type of treatment because you either can't afford it, right? Or you're in a stage that's too late to be treated in those ways, you are going to seek anything that could potentially help, right? And people have historically preyed on that because cancer's been with us for a long time, and the desire to make money has been around for a long time. And sometimes when you can throw away those morals, it becomes a pretty easy answer of, yeah, I'm going to at least try to make money in this way. Not us, or not. I'm just saying that's where the desire comes from for somebody who's going to sell a cancer cure, because they know about the desperation.
Mm-hmm. And for people who are combating a chronic or terminal medical condition like cancer, right? Then you get to a point where you say, well, I'll try whatever.
Yes.
As long as I know it won't kill me, or in the darker tick-tock moments of mortality, I'm dying anyway, Why don't I give this a go? And predators are aware of that. Fake cancer cures are so common that the FDA has a dedicated page addressing the issue. They say, look, don't mess with something unless the FDA has approved it, unless there is some sort of clearance or green light where we can tell you this thing won't actually kill you. And they know that they are losing the battle. They cannot catch every falling sparrow of the grift. There's a long quote. We could probably skip a lot of it, but they talk about bogus cancer treatments. And they say it includes pills, capsules, powders, creams, teas, oils, and treatment kits that are often advertised as whoosh, whoosh, natural treatments. And it's funny that the FDA, just side note, Matt, it's funny that the FDA says whoosh, whoosh, natural, because as we talked about in some explorations of grocery store wording, natural doesn't mean anything. You can say all natural ingredients.
What is unnatural?
Right. What is
unnatural?
One?
Does it mean you used a chemical process to make something? Well, are those chemicals natural? Did you make all of those chemicals on your own, or the molecules that formed those things? You can, I guess from a legal standpoint, it's really strange to think about the word natural, because literally everything that we could ever have access to is in some way natural.
It's all derived from the same elements on the same periodic table. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, hey, but let's give a quick example, Ben, from that FDA website, just super fast. It's at the very bottom of that page. If you scroll all the way down, they talk about this person, Harry M. Hoxsey, who, quote, had no medical training, but he made millions of dollars hawking, they call it quack cancer cures, again, to desperate patients for more than 3 decades. Wow. And he was selling them into the 1950s. So it's not like it was way, way long ago. Maybe your parents or your grandparents, saw ads for this stuff.
And you know what, Matt, to add to that, there might be some of us listening this evening who have a problem with the phrase quack doctors. Mm-hmm. You may feel that we are being anti-duck, and we're here to tell you that ducks are absolute pieces of shit. Every single one. That's the best they can do is be eaten. They reproduce in a horrific, non-consensual way. Ducks are terrible.
And they are delicious. So I guess, win-win.
That was for Noel. The guy hates birds. So there's one bird we can all agree on. Is just a terrible, terrible bird. So quack, quack. These people are selling false hope, and this example that you mentioned here, Matt, is terrifying because it's capitalizing on a lack of information, and it's capitalizing on a very human desire to not die, right?
Yeah. Well, in Hoxsey's case, it was an herbal extract concoction of some sort, but it was labeled as an herbal cancer treatment.
Tight.
And that's what we're talking about here, just why it's so dangerous, because it sounds great and it's in what appears to be a medicinal package. So let's at least give it a try for a while, honey, one might say.
And there's nothing wrong with herbal medicine, with herbal supplements. Sometimes people with chronic conditions may start taking some regimen of treatments and they will feel better because their body is now getting access to stuff their body needed anyway for its regularly scheduled programming, right? If you are human, you need vitamin C. And if you don't have that, you eat vitamin C, maybe your cancer isn't gone, but your teeth aren't loose in your mouth anymore because you no longer have scurvy.
Oh, man, score. But Ben, what happens if instead of just herbal supplements, there's bad stuff in the treatment?
Oh, that's the thing. That's what the FDA is worried about. I wish we were still a video show so everybody could see, Matt, the way you pose this
really
question.
Stuck my chin out and gave it a good scruff.
So this is the problem. This is what the FDA is most immediately concerned about. This is what most medical professionals are immediately concerned about. If you take some Farfignugan blue sky placebo, then you may experience the placebo effect, which is real, but not enough of a prime mover to save you from something like lymphoma, right? Placebo effect is real. It does have measurable efficacy. But if you're taking something that doesn't harm you and doesn't help you, that's a world of difference from taking something that does include harmful ingredients. We talk about this all the time. One of the most successful dudes in all of Chinese history died because he ate a ton of mercury. Not literally a ton, but like a lot of mercury for a person to eat, which is any amount of mercury.
Yeah, because he thought he was going to turn into a cyborg, right? Oh, wait, no. It was it was thought to be good and part of living a longer life, perhaps even attaining immortality.
Mm-hmm. Spoiler. He's either still recovering or he's dead. It's a long recovery. Or people expose themselves to radiation for centuries. People have said, what your problem is? You got too much blood.
Your humors are all off.
Your humors are all off. You're sad because you're melancholic. All right. Anyway, let's cut you open. Blood's so weird. Anyway.
Wait, Ben, what about poop?
Oh, poop. Yeah. Poop's the new hot thing.
Well, it was because it was, again, in the thought for a long time there, you need to let some of the blood out, right? To get your body back into the right balance. Well, maybe it's because all the bad toxins and things are in your gut and in your poop. Or the bad stuff in your poop is inside your body, so we need to get the poop out your body.
Yes. And put some better poop inside.
I don't know about that.
The poop transplants. It's a real thing. But
that's newer. Back then it was just enemas, right? They just...
Oh, that's right.
It was. Enemas were like a cure.
Right. You seem depressed. Let's put some yogurt up your butt. You know what I mean? And check back in. Shout out Kellogg. Yeah, absolutely right. Oh, tobacco smoke they used as well. People were, again, working with the information they had. Not all of them were grifters. Some of them sincerely believed in it. But the difference between those folks and actual medical pioneers is that in every single case, the actual medical pioneers created or discovered things that are still used today. There's a reason you don't have a nest of cobras at home and, you're not slapping them on your knee every day or something like that.
No, very true.
I don't know. Maybe someone is.
You think so?
Maybe someone's listening right now and they're holding one of their cobras and they're injecting the venom from the cobra straight into their kneecap. And they're going, these guys don't get it.
Why is my knee turning all black and smells of almonds?
Right. So the issue is this applies to pets as well. People also go for alternative care when they have a pet that needs help, especially if you have an elderly pet and the veterinarian is saying there's nothing we can do or we can ease the pain, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it gets weirder and weirder and weirder. Can water Riddle me this, Matt. Can water be better if someone meditates over it for a while?
Oh gosh,
I know.
that's such a
Sensitive.
tough one because I think by now we've all seen the videos, seen the report, or like a bunch of reporting that was done on. Do you remember the water? I can't remember the fellow's name, but he spoke really sweetly, said nice things to some water and put it in his fridge, and then yelled and cursed at his other water and put it in the fridge, and then the stuff that he cursed at became diseased and horrible, but the water that he complimented and was kind to was pure as anything you could ever wish. I never was able to prove personally that that was fake, but it certainly feels pretty fake to me.
Well, yeah. I mean, we would have to do the experiment ourselves, right? And also, again, to the excellent point you made about the placebo effect, we have an episode coming out soon called "Are Vibes Real?" And please listen to it. It may be a rare positive experience on stuff they don't want you to know. But I think of Matt. I think of the idea here being that if all other given variables are equal, then it's cool to be good, right? So it doesn't necessarily matter whether the water hears you or whether your plants hear you, et cetera, et cetera. It matters to your mind, to your cognitive internal mechanisms, that you are presenting what you see as a positive aspect in the world.
Yes, no, you're right. And it matters if your flock believes that you praying over the water somehow makes it holy, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Nailed it. Home run. Yeah. Oh man. In another world, we are very strange televangelists. It does, but it also goes wrong, right? Can electromagnetic treatments, for instance, cure HIV? Can sexual congress with people who are virgins cure sexually transmitted diseases? The answer is no.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's been propagated. It's quite dark. Back in the early 2000s, former South African President Thabo Mbeki claimed that HIV did not cause AIDS, proposed a number of purported cures and treatments for the condition, but also in many countries for some time, there was this belief that if you had HIV, if you had contracted the virus, you would be able to somehow cleanse yourself of it by having intimate contact with someone who had never had sexual contact before. And it led to some unclean activities.
Yeah. Jeez. Okay. I'm done. Good night, everybody. That's so dark. Jeez. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's terrible. But that's snake oil again. And we see the real world damage this sort of stuff can create. I mean, okay, people like to crack on South Africa, right? People like to crack on other countries. Imagine then, fellow conspiracy realist, imagine, if you will, your president touting a fake cure for a serious, potentially deadly condition. Crazy, right?
Are we... Which one are we talking about? Because
I know.
What was the stuff? It was President Donald Trump. It was right as the pandemic was hitting its height, and there was something. It wasn't ivermectin. That was a whole other thing.
Hydroxychloroquine.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Well,
yes.
Because it actually can do good, just not to cure the COVID-19 infection, right? Ben, do you remember what it was used for? Like what the actual substance was used for?
Yeah, man. It's like you set up earlier in tonight's show. This substance was also an anti-malaria drug.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, it can kill the malaria, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it can kill this one. And again, the logic is there, right? The potential for something happening theoretically is there. It's just malaria and this virus are very different things.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. And, we got very dark here when we're talking about the importance of recognizing these grifts, these conspiracies against the desperate. Matt, I suggest to you that we take a break for a word from our sponsors, and then maybe we end with some fun stuff, some quack medicine of yesteryear. Again, ducks are horrible.
And we've returned, and we're going to push this one more time. You are not stupid. We are not stupid. Collectively, humans are not stupid. We get scared sometimes. We get a little desperate sometimes, and we'll do anything to help ourselves and others many times. And that's really what this whole episode is about. That's what snake oil is about. It's about searching for a solution. Give me something concrete that I can either give to myself or somebody I love that can help the problem. And I guess that's why it's so scary. Again, people are so down to jump on that fear you've got rolling around inside you so that they can make a buck.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes people don't understand what they are selling. Let's take, for example, opium.
Let's not take opium, but
let's not
talk
take
about
opium.
it.
Let's talk about opium. Opium, so popular that when the very prosperous Chinese government refused to buy opium, the British invaded not once but twice. Because that's all they had to sell. People loved opium. McMunn's elixir of opium was this thing mixed with alcohol, and it was promising that it would fix, quote, nervous irritability in adults and children alike. Is your kid too vocal? Why not give them McMunn's elixir of opium and make that kid go to bed? Also, hey, what if you're not nervous and irritable? What if you have rabies or tetanus? McMunn's elixir of opium will make you feel less bad about it, at least.
Is your rabies giving you nervous irritability? Are you experiencing, it's hysteria? That age-old problem of hysteria. The opium apparently is your fix.
Opium is your fix for being a woman in society.
Yep.
Right. Okay, great. And then we talked about blood. This one has some scientific validity, as we're seeing plasma transfers. There's some quite fascinating science and quite unethical science going on with the idea of prolonging quality of life through certain types of blood transfusions. But back in the late 1800s, people were consuming non-human blood in hopes of revitalizing their general well-being. And Matt, you and Paul and I were talking about this when off air before we recorded. I know we're running a little long, but we have to talk about this ad, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we do. I don't even know how to begin with this thing. Is it pronounced Bovenine? Is that how you would pronounce it?
Yeah, I was thinking Bovenine.
Okay. But that sounds medicinal. Bovenine. Should we do the poem?
Yeah, do the poem. The poem's epic. Can you do like a voice with a lot of gravitas? Like real Ozymandias stuff.
Okay, let's see what I can do. Oof. Look on me in my lassitude, reclining. My nerveless body languid, pale and lean. Now hold me up to where the light is shining, and mark the magic power of Bovenine.
Beautiful.
So in this ad, how would you describe it, Ben?
Matt, I would say it's a lady reclining. She's by a window. She's reclining. She has a nightstand or a table stand by the side of her chair. And there are two glasses by the side of the chair. And there's a larger bottle. And it is Bovenine or Bovenine. And in the first image, her eyes are closed.
Oh, yes. But if you hold it up to the light, just as the poem suggests, you can see that her eyes are in fact open. And there's a giant cow in the back. And guess what it says? My life was saved by Bovenine. And what is it that's in Bovenine, Ben?
Oh, it's blood from cows and extract cattle gunk.
Oh,
you know.
Yeah. Bovenine.
Not sperm. That would be too expensive. It's the blood and like extracts and fats and stuff. And also, if you were walking around and you saw this at your local grocer, you would probably see stuff like Allen's cocaine tablets.
Oh,
of course. Yeah, the number one cure for hay fever.
Got some throat troubles? Cocaine.
Right. Oh, I have a headache and 50 cents. There's a solution here. It's Allen's cocaine tablets. This is pretty nuts. We know that cocaine or cocaine is still pretty popular with human beings today. But now people are more aware of the damaging effects that sort of substance can have. Back in the day, they weren't. They were aware that hay fever sucked. You know what I mean? So why not tackle that one first?
Yeah. Well, and the FDA finally came along and said, hey, guys, cocaine is out. But you know what was also popular back in the cocaine heydays? A little thing called caffeine. And it came in pill form. And it was a drug, an upper, just like cocaine was. But caffeine is still very much in the free market as he drinks his Monster Energy drink. And
cheers.
Coffee.
Yeah, I'm drinking. I always drink iced coffee out of mason jars, apparently. But I guarantee it's 100% coffee. It doesn't contain arsenic because it's not Fowler's solution, nor Donovan's solution, both of which contained arsenic purported to treat things like skin diseases, leukemia, malaria. Just drink this, just chow down on this arsenic, bro.
Dude, it was Fowler and Donovan's solution for an unhappy romance.
They're so Lady Gaga. They could have a bad romance.
And they're like, here, honey, take this solution. It's very final. Oh, sorry. Oh, God. Okay.
But what about my old lace? Right. So this example, I think, arsenic in particular, shows us more about the human obsession with poison as antidote. It's cognitive jump. You get it, right? What is poison as antidote?
Poison as antidote it's the same reason why during that 1918 pandemic, back in the day, one of the solutions was to let the little kids go hang out down by the chlorine gas at some of the factories. Mm-hmm. Chlorine gas, highly poisonous, will kill you if you're exposed to too much. But parents would send their children to go hang out in the chlorine gas because there were lower instances of people catching flu in those clouds of chlorine gas. Because they did have benefits, right? But in the end, it's just more poison.
Yeah, that's the issue. That's 100% it. And it's a cognitive jump that dates back to the very old concept of transitive property, transitive magic. You can see it in the weirdest places all around cultures across the human world. For example, you might hear someone say, oh, it's the hair of the dog, right? The hair of the dog that bit you refers to somehow curing yourself of a symptom from a dog bite by consuming some piece of, or taking ownership of some piece of the thing that attacked you. It's really weird. Yeah. And it's really common still. People just don't like to use the word magic these days.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Yeah. And also don't take radium.
Radium, you say? Well, I hadn't thought of that yet. Somebody had that idea, Ben?
Someone had that idea, Matt, and unfortunately they beat us to it. Matt and I started podcasting because we worked really hard on our own snake oil panacea, and
the microwave weapons didn't work out.
And the microwave weapons really didn't get past the experimental phase. I should have never told you that. And we found out that we had been scooped, folks, fellow conspiracy realists, way before we were working together. Some boffins came up with something called Radithor.
Radithor. It's a combination of Ra-226 and Ra-228. It's radium. It's mostly water with a few microcuries of radium.
Just to make it pop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives you that glow. The label said Radithor is harmless in every respect. It is a cure for the living dead, and it is perpetual sunshine. Yeah, there's some escalation. Yeah.
Cure for the living dead? It cures zombies?
Yes. Yeah. I wish we had done that earlier, because that could have got you and I out of some previously hectic situations. But
seriously.
Yeah. Anyway, spoiler, those statements proved to be untrue. There are countless examples of this crap, and sadly, there are more on the way. Why is that? Why is there always more snake oil?
Because there's still $100 bills in circulation, dude. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you have most of them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got all the $100 bills. But I mean, that's what it is. There's some stuff that we humans have to deal with that the smartest people on the planet haven't figured out how to fix them. Like big problems, terrible, horrible things. We just haven't figured them out yet. But humans, given enough time, we generally figure things out. That's kind of what we do. That's what we're good at. It's just some stuff is really hard. Or elusive, let's say. Again, cure for cancer has been crazy elusive for humanity. But there are strides as long as we throw, really smart people at the problem and lots of funding. There's going to be major cures for different types of cancer. There will be. It's inevitable. It's just, it takes time. And until we have time to fix those things, somebody's going to offer you a solution. It's faster, right, than it's going to take to get the actual cure, and you're probably desperate enough to pay for it.
Beautifully put, yeah. And now we have to end this way. How do you protect yourself from this snake oil, from these false claims, from these predators conspiring against you in a moment of vulnerability? Well, first, we need to treat every medical claim with an enormous amount of skepticism. Secondly, we need to look for corroborating evidence. Doesn't matter what your particular ideological bent is. The reality is this, and hopefully Matt, Noel, Paul, and Doc Holliday can co-sign me on this. The truth is, world governments are run by assholes, but their science departments are run by nerds. And you should follow the nerds. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The a-holes are smelly. P.U. Don't follow them. But I love that sentiment, Ben. I want to throw to a quick thing that you found in your research that I think just speaks to this so well. It's from CNN, written by Kristen Rogers in October of 2020. The title is Bloodletting and Gas Fumes, Quack Treatments of the 1918 Flu. And they're talking there about doctors prescribing high doses of aspirin to combat the Spanish flu outbreak at the time, and because it was known to help with fever, right? Aspirin was a known thing that you could prescribe a patient and it would help their fever. It was not known that when you prescribe too much aspirin, you could potentially kill that patient, because the aspirin is going to be just as deadly as the flu and the symptoms that you're going to get from the flu. And sometimes when they coincide, that's what's going to kill a patient. Well, Kristen Rogers, who wrote this, consulted with Laura Spinney, who is an author. She wrote Pale Rider, The Spanish Flu of 1918 and How It Changed the World. And there's this quote here that I just wanted to bring up because I think it just speaks to this whole episode. And it's kind of what we've been saying the whole time, but ultimately there's a couple key words in here. Here's the quote from Laura Spinney. Quote, "Human beings in general need to feel a sense of control over whatever is afflicting them. That's just a perennial truth." And I think that in the end, it's everything, right? We want to feel some sense of control, especially when we're feeling desperate and afraid.
100%. And that is why these conspiracies persist. Unfortunately, we know that you or someone you are close with has encountered something like modern day snake oil. So we want to know what you think. We'd love to hear examples of cockamamie cures you've encountered in the wild. And also for everyone who might be shouting into the void as you're hearing this, yes, we know Big Pharma is corrupt. Yes, we have done previous episodes on these things, right? On the idea of repressed technology, including repressed technology in the world of medicine. We always want to end these episodes, too, with a shout out to our boy Semmelweis, the doctor who said, "Hey, everybody, wash your hands," and got thrown into an asylum.
Yeah, wash your hands before performing surgery and putting your hands in a human.
He wasn't even saying everyone should wash their hands. He was like, "Hey, before you put your hands at people, clean them up."
Yeah, you think about it.
and they were like, "Throw this man in crazy jail." Anyway, so we want to hear your thoughts, folks. Please let us know examples of strange purported cures or snake oil that you are seeing in the wild. You can find us on Instagram, we're Conspiracy Stuff Show. We can find us on YouTube, we are Conspiracy Stuff. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us, you know, in the right sort of Ouija board vibe. If you feel like a Ouija board is an awkward way to communicate, you can also just give us a phone call.
Oh, yeah. Get the nearest burner wherever you are and just dial 1-833-STDWYTK. It is a voicemail system. You've got 3 minutes to leave a message when you call in. Please give yourself a cool moniker, a nickname, just not your government name, and tell us if we can use your name and message on the air. If you got more to say they can fit in that single voicemail, why not instead send us a good old-fashioned email? We are
conspiracy@iHeartRadio.com.
Stuff They Don't Want You to Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.